Back when I was a very young boy, I heard from a friend that there was a new Final Fantasy game, with a twist. You control a character that, and I quote, was a brown-haired Cloud who wielded a large key, and Donald and Goofy were your party members. Skepticism caused me to raise an eyebrow to the point of making Andrew Dobson blush, but I eventually found the game he was talking about and how completely wrong he was about it being a Final Fantasy game, the little bit. Kingdom Hearts. Finding something which I originally thought to be a playground prank took me by surprise, and on that very same day I ended up being its proud owner. Now, as previously mentioned, Kingdom Hearts is a collaboration between Square Enix and Disney, using characters from the Final Fantasy world and merging them with characters and locations from Disney films, with a handful of them being original characters of the game's now notorious director, Tetsuya Nomura. What can I really say about this collaboration that hasn't been said before? I mean, Kingdom Hearts has been the poster child for what the fuck were they thinking video games for the longest time now, and people freaking out over the weird concept has been driven so far into the dirt it's gone through the nose and straight out the other end. So my general thoughts on the collab? It's weird, there's no ifs and buts about it, but it isn't a slap your thighs together point and laugh at the Goofy video game, but rather a, okay, well, odd. What is a thigh-slappingly good time for me, however, is the way the collab was dealt with.
Oh god, that Luke cackle, that was good.
This mainly revolves around the script writing and the scenarios our main characters end up finding themselves in. Is this a bad thing? For many people who routinely mock the series, yes. But for me, a fresh-faced baby boy with a twinkle in his eye? Well, dumb shit like this makes my shriveled black Grinch heart double in size. It's probably important to bring up that the version I'll be looking at is the PS4 version, Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, which adds in an extra boss and a few added cutscenes. And with that, I'm gonna stop delaying the inevitable and open up the rabbit hole that is the Kingdom Hearts series. Starting with Kingdom Hearts 1, or as I like to call it, Kingdom Hearts and the boy who won't stop falling. Will someone please assist this poor child? The opening movie of Kingdom Hearts is an instant draw. Not only is the song that plays throughout catchy as ever-loving hell, though I can't play it due to aggressive copyright claims, but it also does a nice job at showing us through visuals how the more important parts of the story will play out for our main character and his friends. And note what I just said there. Important parts of the story. We'll get to that. I just like how during this segment the protagonist has this way too real moment where you actually see the joy drain from his eyes only to be replaced by what the fuck? No, my DeviantArt friend, this is no time for aggressive hand-holding. Oh, how can I resist that stupid fucking face? After all of this, the boy just keeps on tumbling down till eventually he stops in a location that brings us crashing back to exactly what this game is going to feel like tonally. Whoo boy! This entire area is a tutorial that introduces you to basic controls and gameplay of Kingdom Hearts. This is also a hybrid, combining the traditional drop-down menu from most Japanese role-playing games with hack and slash. This combination actually goes together quite nicely, like discovering how putting cheese with your scrambled egg makes it real fucking good and how mayonnaise goes with everything. Overall, the gameplay is easy to understand, making it accessible. The sound design is satisfying when your weapon impacts an enemy, and to top it all off, when you defeat said enemy, they'll explode with a selection of goodies. These being HP orbs to recover health, MP bubbles to recover magic, money to recover your empty wallet, and the odd item or two on random occasion. Mix all of this together, simple and easy to grasp gameplay, satisfying sound design, and enemies which are in essence walking piñatas. You can understand why a lot of people still hold very fond memories of the gameplay side of Kingdom Hearts. Upon revisiting it, I'll admit I had a fun time. It's always nice to wake up and feel excited to start recording footage. The gameplay starts off tediously slow, but with the knowledge that alongside magic that you unlock shortly into the game, as well as combos you gain through level progression, it pushed me on to continue. For new players who may assume this is all they'll get, it's understandable to find the gameplay a little lacking. I'll admit that for today's standards, combat feels almost archaic at points. They were very clearly trying this sort of gameplay out, and for the most part I'd say it's acceptable, if not very heavy and stiff compared to its successors. Okay, so we have a basic understanding of the gameplay. Our hero comes face to face with strange shadow-like creatures, which eventually leads him to take down a colossal opponent. As darkness swarms around him, a voice in his head tells him not to be afraid, and that he'll be the one to open the door. Then he wakes up and it's all a dream. Fuck you. Next! Our main hero is called Sora, a 14-year-old boy living on a world called Destiny Islands. You heard me, a world. We'll get into that. Trust me, honey. On the Destiny Islands, he has two important friends, one of them named Kairi, the other named Riku. These two heroes are the driving force behind our hero's eventual goals throughout the game. On Destiny Islands, our characters are building a raft to venture out into the open sea to find new worlds. It's established pretty early that Riku and Sora are rivals, but their friendship aside from that is solid. Kairi is close to the two boys and supposedly arrived at Destiny Islands on a meteor shower, and aside from a cheerful attitude, she isn't really that interested.
Okay. Listen here, pretty boy. You just can't start dissing Kairi because she brings a lot to the table in Kingdom Hearts 1. Kairi gets a lot of crap and honestly, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I know this, Buns. We spoke the other day.
Like, for real, she's the one who carries all the mystery in the beginning, being from another world and all, and she's the one who motivates Sora through the whole freaking journey, and she ain't no damsel in distress either, cause she makes these boys work. Heck, she's even sassy about stuff, making little jokes, telling Sora to get off his lazy cherry-flavored butt. I mean, just look at this girl. She screams sassy. Yeah, she's in a coma half the time, but at least she adds lore and gives the story some freaking urgency, instead of loud, short, and full of not healing over here.
I mean, I don't think she's bad, I just don't think she's great. Did you have to put a hole in my fucking roof?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a doozy, my bad.
Can you piss off?
Okay, well, you don't have to be rude about it. Alright, fine, I'll leave. But when you start talking about Aqua, we are gonna have a big problem, boy!
Hey, side note, Destiny Islands can delete itself. I understand why it's here and its relevance to the characters, but a fetch quest followed by yet another fetch quest isn't a great way to get the ball rolling. It's, dare I say, really fucking boring and makes me give off a sound like I'm permanently deflating. Before Sora returns home, he takes a trip down memory lane and visits an old cave where he and Kairi scribbled on the walls as children. Sora adds something to this picture, him giving Kairi a Paopu fruit. The Paopu fruit is rumoured to connect two people's destinies together if they share it. Whether or not Sora has romantic feelings or is just very attached to Kairi is ambiguous in this first title, and the fact that Riku wants to share one with Kairi only elevates their rivalry. Then a walking potato sack makes an appearance and spouts off some deep Kingdom Hearts bullshit about how Sora's island is now connected to the darkness, and Sora's like, get out of here, you fucking idiot. So he does. Remember Potato Sack, by the way. It's important to the story. Whilst the friends plan their ocean adventure in what appears to be an entirely different game but isn't, we're introduced to our secondary main character, Donald Duck. Just look at that stride, you know he's off to fuck someone's wife. And it sure ain't Goofy because the milkman already has that spot taken.
Milkman!
Donald, the court magician, working for King Mickey Mouse, gets a letter from the king saying that one by one stars are blinking out from the night sky, so he's gone out to investigate why. In classic Donald fashion, he has a goddamn heart attack and sprints off to find the third main character, the soldier Goofy. Then, tasked by Queen Minnie, they head off to track down the king, following his final order. Go to Traverse Town and speak to Leon, then find the one who wields the key. Back to Sora, he's chilling in his room thinking about the adventure ahead of him when he notices there's a large storm. Suddenly realizing this storm could potentially send the raft deep into the ocean, he makes his way over there, only to notice Riku and Kairi's boats are there too. This is when he notices a large void-like orb hovering above the island, and the very same shadow creatures from his dream start to appear left and right. Only this time, equipped with nothing but a wooden sword, he's powerless to do anything about it. When he finds Riku, he explains that the door has opened, and that by stepping into the darkness, they can go on that adventure they dreamed of, but will have to leave their old lives and their parents behind. Sora's like, pardon, but before he can get an answer, Riku's taken off by the darkness. It's at this point where we're introduced to something which will sadly, in later titles, give Tetsuya Nomura a tragic sickness. I believe in medical terms, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, it's known as George Lucas Lightsaber Syndrome. Quite the mouthful, but unfortunately for the uninitiated, you probably won't get what I'm talking about till a later video. Until then, pray for Nomura. His mother and I are very worried. The weapon that Sora wields is a Keyblade. This weapon can strike down the shadowy creatures, and for Sora, that's good enough.
Kairi!
Riku and Kairi have vanished. Sora's island is being slowly destroyed. He faces off against the large shadow from his dream before being sucked into the void along with it. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a mysterious town.
How many of these have I got left to do?
Oh, fucking hell. Sora finds himself in a location called Traverse Town, a town where people who have lost their worlds to darkness end up, so long as they haven't been consumed in the process. On his journey to figure out what the fuck is going on, he bumps into Squall from Final Fantasy VIII.
I think you might have overdone it, Squall.
That's Leon.
Oh.
My mistake.
Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII, and another fan favourite.
Gosh, there's nobody here. Sure is spooky.
Wow, Halloween theme.
Speaking of Halloween,
Man,
it's a corpse.
you should be dead!
Now before I continue, I think it's important to bring up the fact that these characters are not the same characters from these games. These are people that resemble those characters from Final Fantasy and share the same name. Nothing more. They serve as a finger gun reference to fans of those games, a way to make sure the Final Fantasy nerds are just as satisfied as the Disney fans. I'd say they do a decent enough job with them, although some of them serve as a reminder that giving one man total creative freedom can lead to a very funny outcome.
Yeah, you're my darkness. Yeah.
Ooh. Jack my little fanboy cock off, yeah.
I hate it.
Oh, yeah, oh, fuck yeah, God. I love Final Fantasy VII, I can't wait for the remake. Squall, using the name Leon, fills us in on a lot of the weird shit that's been happening. The Keyblade is an extremely powerful weapon that chooses its owner. Using a Keyblade, the user can open any door and unlock any lock. They can also release a person's heart, which is why the Heartless, the shadowy creatures that destroyed Sora's island, fear it so much and will do anything to destroy its wielder. If Sora beats an Emblem Heartless, a species of Heartless with an emblem on their chest, he can release the heart from within it. See, if a person succumbs to the darkness in their heart, it becomes corrupted and releases from their body, turning into an Emblem Heartless. Heartless without emblems are known as pure-blood Heartless and are born from the darkness in a person's heart rather than embodying the heart itself. This is the least confusing Kingdom Hearts game. Let that sink in. Why Sora was chosen as the Keyblade Master, no one knows. If someone tries to take the Keyblade from him, it simply returns straight back to his hands. They also bring up their leader, back when their world wasn't swallowed up by the darkness, named Ansem.
Ansem?
Close enough, who dedicated all of his time into researching the Heartless, and the king may have gone to find his scattered research. Then they just show up. Avoiding the swarm of Heartless, Sora has a sudden, rude introduction to Donald and Goofy, who gleefully exclaim that they have found the key. You defeat a boss with your newfound allies, and almost instantly Sora has a new group of buddies in order to help achieve their individual goals. Sora to find Riku and Kairi, and Donald and Goofy to help find King Mickey with the Keyblade. And also to serve as incredibly incompetent AI, Donald, can you please heal me? Donald! Heal me, Donald, you fucking duck cunt! This small moment afterwards is one of my favourite moments in the original. It basically shows you nice and slowly every Disney villain you'll be facing as you go on your adventure, being led by Maleficent the Witch. This gets you excited, especially if you know these villains beforehand, so you have a vague idea about the kind of levels you'll be visiting. So what are the villain's overall goals? To find Sora, eliminate him so the Keyblade no longer poses a threat, find things called keyholes, and to finally collect 7 Princesses of Heart, maidens with heart made of pure light, completely devoid of darkness. Okay now, this is where I'm going to need to take frequent water breaks in between recordings, and try my best to get this as accurate as possible. Forgive me, my children, if I make a mistake. I love you so much. The universe of Kingdom Hearts is split up into worlds. Worlds are for the most part from Disney films, and within Kingdom Hearts 1, the Disney properties these worlds come from are Alice in Wonderland, Tarzan, Hercules, Aladdin, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Pinocchio, though it doesn't technically count as a world, The Little Mermaid, and Winnie the Pooh. There are also a couple of worlds which don't fall into the Disney category, those being Traverse Town, Hollow Bastion, and End of the World. Sora, Donald, and Goofy's mission is to go to each world in search for Riku, Kairi, and the King, fighting off the Heartless that swarm them, and eventually finding something called a keyhole, which when locked by the Keyblade makes it so the Heartless can't destroy the heart of that world. In order to get to a new world, we'll be using Donald and Goofy's vessel, the Gummy Ship, which looks like it was created for an actual baby, and I can't for the life of for me understand the appeal to this design. Gummy ship missions, which you have to complete in order to unlock the level, are some incredibly bog standard shmup segments which offer little to no challenge, especially if you start upgrading your ship. And I know what you're thinking, I'm just as shocked as you that my application to art school was denied, the fucking bastards. Now here's where we reel out some primo bullshit, something which is brought up and ignored in the very same game. The concept of meddling. So the ability to travel between worlds was never a thing people could normally do. This is something which came to be when the Heartless started messing things up, which led to people discovering that there were more worlds out there. Because of this, there's a golden rule within Kingdom Hearts 1. Do not meddle in the affairs of other worlds. Essentially, let nature take its course.
I'm gonna step out for a second. You just take care.
So what does Sora do directly after being told the news? He meddles. When Clayton is about to shoot Turt the gorilla, Donald interrupts him, despite being the one that told Sora not to meddle. Hell, even in Atlantica, where King Triton specifically brings up the concept of not meddling in his world and kindly fucking off, well, he lets him do it in the end anyway. Because why not? Does the inclusion of Heartless make this meddling rule void? Serious question, does the inclusion of Heartless somehow mean, okay, well, some other force is already meddling in the affairs of another world, so technically, we're just trying to fix things? I really have no idea, and it pisses me off to this day. The worlds themselves are fun to visit, with a few exceptions here and there. The levels which like to put a strong emphasis on platforming are not exactly what I'd call a good time. Thankfully, this is something which will be improved in later titles, but in Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora suffers from being as stiff as a board when he jumps with no aerial maneuverability. So when you need to do basic platforming to continue, it feels so heavy and sluggish. Overall though, the presentation and attention to detail within these worlds are spot on. If you're a Disney fan, it's gonna feel like a nice big soapy wank. My personal favourite as far as aesthetic goes is The Nightmare Before Christmas, which even changes the textures of the Heartless to resemble the materials that were used in the stop-motion classic. Even Tarzan's level had a nice few nods towards the film. Having Sora ride down logs with Tarzan by his side, a short fetch quest where you need to find slideshow parts, and finally having the best 3D rendition of my #1 Disney wife. Disagree with me all you want, she's perfection and I won't be told otherwise.
Sit on my face until I die.
This brings me on to my next point. Remember when I was talking about the introductory movie and how it was good at showing us the important parts of the story? Sora's relationship with Riku and Kairi and stopping the Heartless really is the story, and a majority of these Disney worlds don't really focus on that at all. The closest it'll get to is Riku, Kairi and the King might be on this world. Then you go through a short retelling of that Disney film but adding Sora, Donald, Goofy and the Heartless into the mix. This is why The Nightmare Before Christmas, yet again, wins a Medal of Honor, because not only is the aforementioned aesthetic on point, but it throws in a really nice way to mix the narrative of Kingdom Hearts into its story. And whilst you do go through similar beats of the original film, the inclusion of the Professor trying to make a heart from scratch is, in my opinion, the most interesting way to mix the two narratives. It's why I'm happy to hear that Kingdom Hearts 3 will be making canonical sequels to the new Disney worlds, such as Big Hero 6 and Toy Story. This way we'll have no idea what to expect, and hopefully they'll do something interesting to combine Kingdom Hearts with its world and characters. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is the Disney levels serve as a sort of filler, with tiny snippets of the original content story scattered throughout. I mean, returning to Traverse Town lands us straight into Riku's location anyways, meaning that visiting all of the worlds before it was kinda pointless. However, he ends up doing a vanishing act on us again after meeting with Sora's new friends and the Keyblade. Now, instead of being mature about the situation, Riku realistically acts like a teenage boy. He's being manipulated by Maleficent, who tells him that Sora no longer cares about him and Kairi and is instead content on going on adventures with his new two friends. Riku, being quite the grumpy wee lad and an idiot, falls hook, line and sinker into Maleficent's ruse cruise and slowly starts to fuck with Sora on his adventure. This schoolyard bullying leads to something much more dark when it turns out the villains have found Kairi, or what is left of Kairi. She's missing her heart, but unlike 99% of people, her body clings on. Oh yeah, that's another thing about Kingdom Hearts. When you lose your heart, your body disappears in the process. Is this relevant at all to the series? Yes, actually. In fact, it's crucial. Fuck you. So now the villains have found Kairi, Riku believes that by using the power of darkness, he can find Kairi's heart and bring her back. All the while, Maleficent is pulling his strings to fulfill her evil goal of ruling over the Heartless and essentially becoming the ruler of all worlds. Riku and Maleficent take Kairi to Maleficent's current base of operations, the old homeworld of Leon, Yuffie and Aerith, which has been twisted and warped into Hollow Bastion. Up next is a three-part story: Revelation, Betrayal and Demise. Riku by this point is is powerful, as displayed here by his sick backflip and taking down the Beast, who's here to find Belle, who disappeared from his castle. The Keyblade, awestruck at the sick backflip, goes to Riku instead. A basic explanation as to why it does this is because it was meant to go to Riku in the first place. Riku disappeared just in time for the Keyblade to miss him, so it went to Sora instead, using him as a delivery boy. Sora, left defeated and broken at this revelation, then has to watch his two friends abandon him at his lowest, following their king's order to the letter. Goofy doesn't even turn around and say goodbye, and Donald's all sorry, Sora. Fuck both of you, actually. Just terrible friends.
Betrayal!
What?
Betrayal! Betrayed me!
Adding salt to the wound, Riku throws Sora his training sword from Destiny Island and leaves him with an injured Beast. Sora gets some morale back after helping the Beast up, and the two of them wander the ruins of Hollow Bastion to try and find the people they originally set out to search for. Sora has no Keyblade during this segment, so he does a pitiful amount of damage to the Heartless, which I like. The game builds you up as this superhero, but then it suddenly leaves you in this state of weakness throughout this particular stage, mainly relying on magic or the Beast to deal the finishing blow. Makes you feel like the stakes have been raised, but also gives you a driving force to get that power back. In a separate scene, Maleficent now has all of the Princesses of Heart. Using their hearts of pure light, she uses them to reveal to her the keyhole of Hollow Bastion.
Oh, purest of hearts, reveal to me the keyhole!
Maleficent! Are you fucking kidding me? Show me the keyhole! Did you check the giant keyhole-shaped hole, you stupid idiot? I could have showed you that! Oh, princess, show me the keyhole!
Cutting a long story short, we run into Riku, Goofy and Donald again, where Riku turns turbo edgy and tries to take out Sora with his newfound abilities, only to be stopped by Goofy and Donald, who now decide it was maybe a douchebag thing to abandon Sora and come crawling back to his side. Sora's all, I may not be as cool as you, but I can do a backflip in my heart! And just like that, the Keyblade changes its master, realizing that the darkness in Riku's heart was overwhelming him, and Sora was an overall better candidate. Riku, torn up about this, runs away, but is stopped by the potato sack from the beginning of the game, who tells him to completely open his heart to the darkness in order to have a chance at beating Sora. After you meet with Maleficent and give her a smack on the bum, Riku reappears. However, he's been completely possessed by the Potato Sack Man, calling himself Ansem, who, if you remember, was the leader of Hollow Bastion before its fall to darkness, who dedicated himself to the study of Heartless and hearts. He unlocks Maleficent's heart with a new Keyblade Ansem forged from the hearts of the princesses, allowing darkness to overwhelm and consume it, turning her into a dragon. Smacking her on the bum a second time causes her to melt like the Wicked Witch of the West, leading to another confrontation with Ansem, and oh boy, here we go. He tells us that the keyhole cannot be completed unless he has the 7th princess's heart, which is actually inside Sora.
Kairi's inside me?
The 7th princess is Kairi, and during the beginning when she shot through Sora, her heart implanted itself into his. Kairi, being a princess, also explains why her body doesn't disappear when it lacks a heart. Darkness cannot touch her heart due to her princess status, which means it's left in a catatonic state until her heart returns to her. Sora's like, fuck off, and Ansem's all bleh, leaving Sora to ponder on how he can release Kairi's heart from his own. He then decides to commit the most selfless, if not idiotic, act of self-sacrifice by using the abandoned Keyblade of Hearts and stabbing himself in the chest. He does this because he remembers that the Keyblade of Hearts can unlock hearts. By doing this, it actually works, and not only does it return the princesses' hearts to their rightful bodies, it also marks the point in Kingdom Hearts where some of the most plot-crucial events that occur in later titles would originate from. The family tree of nonsense that spawns forth from Sora at this point in time cements itself as the big bang of the series, something which we'll go deep into when we start to cover the other titles. With Kairi back and Sora for all intents and purposes gone, Ansem makes his first physical appearance to us, claiming that Kairi has no further use. Take note of the emblem on his chest, meaning that this is a Heartless of Ansem, or he's managed to turn himself into a Heartless. Or at least, this is what the first game would imply. Riku, still able to consciously control his body, uses the rest of his strength to protect Kairi, Donald, and Goofy, seemingly being snapped out of his darkness-powered trance. Donald and Goofy escort Kairi to safety, whilst a little shadow Heartless wanders through the empty corridors of Hollow Bastion. When the little shadow finds the party, Donald does it the honour of not disintegrating it with magic on the spot, which gives Kairi enough time to realise that this little Heartless is Sora. She protects him from the onslaught of tiny Heartless that block their path, as Goofy's cry of panic sounds more like a parent calling their kid in for dinner. After hearing Kairi's words from within the darkness, Sora returns to our heroes, awkwardly embracing Kairi while she wears an expression on her face like she just wants to go home. The Beast offers himself up as a distraction, whilst our heroes make their escape from Hollow Bastion back to Traverse Town, where a unanimous agreement to lock the final keyhole is made. Sora takes the time to finally speak to Kairi after his long search for her, stating the irony that despite his search, she was with him the whole time. Sora's mission still isn't complete, however, as he now tasks himself with saving Riku, and that despite the fact he's now lost to the darkness, so was Sora. So, using that logic, Sora's off to save his buddy with the power of friendship and light, but not before some gag-worthy dialogue.
Our hearts are connected, and the light from our hearts broke through the darkness. No matter how deep the darkness, a light shines within.
Oh boy!
Back at Hollow Bastion, our Final Fantasy friends made the trip as well, who tell Sora that once they find and defeat Ansem, everything will return to normal. This also means returning back home, with no possible way of travelling back to other worlds and revisiting the friends you made along the way. The paths will essentially be closed.
No matter where we are, our hearts will bring us together again.
Oh boy!
Taking a lucky charm in the shape of a Palpu fruit from Kairi, promising he'll give it back to her eventually, he takes off to the final frontier. End of the World. End of the World is a great final level, a graveyard of worlds where the fragments of worlds lost to the darkness end up. Sora, Donald and Goofy make their way through this macabre setting whilst the beautiful OST by Yoko Shimomura constantly plays. The penultimate boss is pretty fucking cool, not just because of how iconic it is to my childhood nightmares, but also because of how well it fits into the setting of Kingdom Hearts, looking identical to a Heartless. After our hero's long journey, they come face to face with Ansem in the ruins of Destiny Island. Ansem goes off on a long tirade about how the heart was always meant to be consumed by darkness, but Sora's all, "Nuh-uh, there's light in there too, you Melvin," causing Ansem to wet his diaper and attack a little baby boy. The fight with Ansem technically has 4 phases. In his first phase, he walks around with his shadow buddy who serves as a way of defending, and if hit by his now infamous submit move, will hold you in place, giving Ansem enough time to mow you down. The second phase is a fight with the colossal Heartless we fought in the beginning, known as Darkseid. The third phase is a one-on-one fight with Ansem, but with a few extra techniques that can 2-hit kill you even on normal mode. Finally, there's his last form, otherwise known as Tetsuya Nomura directed this one. This fight requires you save Donald and Goofy from their prisons of darkness, smacking Ansem around, then eventually taking down the hilariously goofy core which has a fucking skull on it, you. Put a shirt on, you little cutie. Beating Ansem leads us to the end of the road. The door to darkness now lies within his grasp, which will grant him access to Kingdom Hearts, the heart of all worlds, and something which all hearts return to. Ansem, being utterly convinced that Kingdom Hearts will fill him full of darkness, forces the door open. But then Sora's all, "Nuh-uh, there's light in there too, you Melvin." The light from Kingdom Hearts disintegrates Ansem, but the door to darkness remains open, meaning the darkness kept within it can still flood into the realm of light. The 3 heroes can't hope to close the door alone, which is where 2 unexpected people come to our aid. First is Riku, finding himself in the realm of darkness after being taken over by Ansem. And the second?
Your Majesty!
Mickey Mouse! Let's close this door for good. There he is! There he is! It's Mickey! Trademarked by Disney!
King Mickey, also wielding a Keyblade, thanks Donald and Goofy and asks Sora to use his Keyblade in order to lock the door from both sides. Riku, who stays behind of King Mickey, asks Sora to take care of Kairi. Using the combined power of the 2 Keyblades, the door to darkness is locked. Since Ansem has been defeated and the door has been closed, everything begins to return to normal. Kairi is also here for some reason and looks just as confused to how she got there as I am. Sora runs up to his friend, telling her he'll always find his way back to her. She acknowledges this and the islands split apart, Kairi going back to Destiny Islands and Sora on an adventure to find Riku and King Mickey. However, a secret cutscene of the game shows our trio lost in a very pleasant looking meadow, with no real direction to find Riku and Mickey. Suddenly, Pluto appears before them carrying a letter with a seal from the king. Finally, with a goal in clear sight, they chase after Pluto, leading them on yet another adventure. And so concludes Kingdom Hearts 1, the most simple to understand Kingdom Hearts game in the franchise, and those words weigh heavy on my mind. I'm gonna recommend Kingdom Hearts with a big asterisk. I personally really do enjoy the first game, archaic as it may be, but this also stems from the fact that I enjoy revisiting older games from my childhood for the nostalgia, and for a lot of new players they may not get the same enjoyment as ones who have a previous strong connection with it. But revisiting the gameplay, I still had a lot of fun with it, especially revisiting some of my favourite bosses, both in the main storyline and the 4 secret ones, something which I always respected the series for including. The story is needlessly convoluted and tries way too hard to be deep, instead coming across as embarrassing at points, and having the ability to skip cutscenes made playing through this title a much more enjoyable experience. But you know, different strokes for different folks. You might end up enjoying it, as I know for a fact thousands of you out there do, which is fine. I'm more on the side of, yeah, this is some really dumb shit, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't having fun. If you're the kind of person who likes to play a game before trying out the sequels, buy it. I'd suggest getting it on the PlayStation 4, as it also comes with Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, and Birth by Sleep, all for an extremely affordable price. The next game we'll be looking at is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Until then, big kisses, and I'll see you all next time. Well, my first video into Kingdom Hearts and I'm already having a lot of fun, if you couldn't tell. Shout out to Super Butterbuns, who makes fantastic, hilarious content over on her channel. I highly recommend her to you all if you want to binge watch someone's content and not get bored. And of course, Perils of Pokey, who has yet again sat through hours of my shrill laugh and cutscenes just to include it in these videos. Very talented guy, his channel is also in the description. If you back up to $5, you can listen to my podcast a few days early, sometimes even up to a week in advance. Thank you all again. See you all in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.